Brand new details in the Jeffrey Epstein case. We are now learning he actually prepared for his death by signing his will just 48 hours before killing himself. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith, and it's Tuesday.
It is a Tuesday. I'm John Scott, in for Bill Hemmer this morning. Court records show a will for the disgraced financier was signed August 8th. That's just 2 days before investigators say Epstein hanged himself in his Manhattan jail cell.
Meanwhile, on the federal side, Attorney General Bill Barr continues to take more action in the aftermath. But first, Rick Leventhal with some breaking news on more lawsuits from some new accusers. Rick.
Good morning, Sandra and John. The latest developments breaking overnight. News of another lawsuit filed against Epstein's estate by 3 more alleged victims. The women, all using aliases, accused the convicted sex offender of using his wealth, power, influence, and connections to commit illegal sexual crimes against the women, beginning when one of them was 17, claiming he forced her to recruit new girls when she was, quote, aging out. At least 2 other lawsuits have already been filed, all making claims to Epstein's estate valued at more than $550 million. According to the New York Post, an updated will was filed on his behalf in the U.S. Virgin Islands just 2 days before he hung himself in a New York City jail cell. The Post says the 66-year-old former hedge fund manager put all of his $577 million in a trust called the 1953 Trust, named for the year he was born. His only known heir is his brother Mark. And we're learning more about Epstein's friendship with Prince Andrew. According to a 2011 Vanity Fair article, the writer phoned Andrew after Epstein's earlier conviction on sex crimes and told him, quote, "You cannot have a relationship with Jeffrey. You can't do these things." And he said, "Stop giving me such a hard time. You're such a Puritan." The writer says Prince Andrew and Epstein were friends for 20 years, and the prince told the writer, quote, "Leave me alone. Jeffrey's my friend. Being loyal to your friend is a virtue." Now the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York has asked the judge in Epstein's most recent sex trafficking case to drop the criminal charges since he killed himself in jail and can't be prosecuted. But prosecutors say the investigation will continue and it, quote, remains committed to doing its utmost to stand up for the victims who have already come forward, as well as for the many others who have yet to do so. The suggestion is the people who may have helped Epstein procure dozens of young girls could face charges themselves, and so could others who may have broken the law in Epstein's home. And Sandra, we have this latest news from the New York Post that says one of the men named as an executor of Epstein's will was Bill Gates' former science advisor, who says he was shocked to learn that he was named as an executor of the will, and he says, "I was not consulted, and I have no intent to fulfill those duties." Sandra?
A lot of twists and turns in that story as it continues to develop. Thank you, Rick.